All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cody Tucker Show. As always, I'm your host, Cody Tucker. Be sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Got, pretty decent amount of things to go through. Probably going to be a little bit of a lighter episode. Trying to get this one knocked out before Christmas. So, I guess just a little bit of a backup. I'm recording this episode a couple days before Christmas, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to come out the day after Christmas. So, hope all of you sons of bitches had a great Christmas. To all the Jews, happy Hanukkah. And to the, to every group who celebrates their version of Christmas, happy whatever that is to you. So it is weird that, I'm sure that I had a great Christmas, although it hasn't happened yet. It's odd talking about yourself in future tense and past tense at the same time. Because the thing hasn't happened, but I'm talking about it as though it has happened. Which is quite the Christopher Nolan effect. But, any hoodles. I love Christmas. Without a doubt, my fucking favorite time of the year, which I'm pretty sure I've said on every single episode for the past 2 months. Whatever. I like Christmas. I'm a sucker for Christmas music, Christmas movies, which actually, you know what? I was going to go over some news, but fuck it. Who gives a shit? So there was actually some questions sent in that we'll go over because some of these are Christmas related. Some are not, but I just kind of picked, how many questions are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So we'll go over that real quick. Actually, let me see if there's anything in the news. Fuck it. No. Take it from the top. What's his name that did that? Bill O'Reilly. Fuck it. We'll do it live. Screw it. Let's just go and do questions. It's my goddamn show. Do everything I want. Damn it. All right. Hold on. Time to wet the old sucker there. All right. So, in kind of keeping with, the seasonal theme, one of the questions that actually had got asked multiple times, in person and sent in, and this is a question I think, kind of an age-old question, but I don't know that I've ever spoken about it, so I guess we'll go ahead and do that. The question was, is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Short answer, fuck no. It is not a Christmas movie. There is a difference between movies that take place during Christmas and Christmas movies. Just because there happens to be a Christmas song at some point in the movie does not make it a Christmas movie. The movie, to be a Christmas movie, has to be centered around Christmas. Christmas almost has to be a character in the movie. Die Hard is not one of those. Die Hard, takes place during Christmas, and there is a Christmas song at the beginning of the movie. And granted, they are at Nakatomi Plaza on account of a Christmas party, which, that does kind of muddies things a little bit. Because if there was no Christmas, they would not be at said plaza. Hans Gruber would not be, Germanizing the shit out of that place. Ipso facto, John McClane isn't there. So, no Die Hard. That actually is not where I thought I'd be. No, it's not a Christmas. My instinct says it is not a Christmas movie. I'm not interested in putting, logic into this. So, I guess this is a little bit of a blending of segments, but also, who gives a shit? These segments don't mean shit anyways. So, the Mount Rushmore of Christmas movies is Home Alone, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Elf, and Tim Allen's Santa Claus. Ooh, shit. What about Polar Express? Yeah, I do like Polar Express, but the older I've gotten, the more I am fucking terrified of that movie. It is not as whimsical as I remember it being as a young bastard. When you watch it now, the boy, is it kind of. I mean, it's a creepy fucking. Actually, a lot of Christmas movies are pretty creepy. Christmas in general is kind of a creepy holiday. Like, the more you kind of think about it, the more like, huh. Like, I watched, okay, so going in line with the Die Hard argument, Gremlins is also one of those movies that kind of gets lumped into being a Christmas movie. Now, I would 100% say that Gremlins is more of a Christmas movie than Die Hard. I mean, it, like, not only takes place during Christmas, one, there's snow, which, Die Hard is lacking in that regard. But also, there's like, okay, so I watched Gremlins when I was really little and don't remember. I mean, I didn't remember a goddamn thing, but so rewatching it, I found out. I guess I just completely forgot that this was a thing in the movie. There is a speech, a monologue given by Phoebe Cates. That is. It is one of the craziest things to ever. Like, I think Gremlins is PG, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can find it real quick. God damn it. Let's see. Phoebe Cates Gremlins monologue. That should do it. Yeah, the worst Christmas story. Yeah, here we go. So, yes. So this is a movie that, let me check and see if it was PG or PG-13. If I'm not mistaken, I don't even know if there was PG-13 when this movie came out. I think it actually was like one of the movies that made the PG-13 rating, if I'm not mistaken. PG. Wow. That's something. So this is a speech given by Phoebe Cates in the film Gremlins, directed by Chris Columbus, who also director of Home Alone, so knocked out 2 Christmas movies, and also, well, goddamn, I'm really just opening a can of worms here, because Harry Potter, also first 2 directed by Chris Columbus. Wouldn't want to ever get confused with the Navigator. And I kind of consider the first 2, I mean, really, Harry Potter in general, man, that's a bit of an argument of whether or not those are Halloween movies or Christmas movies. Because there's a lot of Christmas scenes in Harry Potter. It's about witchcraft and wizardry, spells and such, which lends itself to, the Halloween side of the argument. But, I mean, a lot of Christmas stuff in it. Damn. That's a good debate. Actually, send in your thoughts on this. Is Harry Potter Halloween or Christmas? But okay, so back to this, because this is amazing. This is in a PG movie, a movie made for little children. Like, the recommended age for a PG movie is like, what, 8 and below, or like 10 and below? Now, this is a Christmas movie. A, somewhat like happy, fun Christmas movie with little bastards who, kind of lose their shit. So here's the all right, so I'm just going to read it because this is amazing. And I did not remember this being in this movie, and I can't believe it's even in it. How this didn't end up on the cutting room floor is beyond me. So here it is. Phoebe Cates' monologue about what she thinks of Christmas. The worst thing that ever happened to me was on Christmas. Oh God, it was so horrible. It was Christmas Eve. I was 9 years old. Me and Mom were decorating the tree, waiting for Dad to come home from work. A couple of hours went by. Dad wasn't home. So Mom called the office. No answer. Christmas Day came and went, and still nothing. So the police began a search. 4 or 5 days went by. Neither one of us could eat or sleep. Everything was falling apart. It was snowing outside. The house was freezing, so I went to try to light up the fire. And that's when I noticed the smell. The firemen came and broke through the chimney top, and me and Mom were expecting them to pull out a dead cat or a bird, and instead they pulled out my father. He was dressed in a Santa Claus suit. He'd been climbing down the chimney on Christmas Eve, his arms loaded with presents. He was going to surprise us. He slipped and broke his neck. He died instantly. And that's how I found out that there was no Santa Claus. Amazing. That is an actual speech given by one Phoebe Cates for the film Gremlins. My God. Nothing says 'tis the season like a story of your dead father being slow roasted in your own fireplace. Oh my God. That is bananas that was put into a movie. A PG movie. I mean, that's got to be up there with... that's got to be one of the most depressing... Like, Schindler's List had more optimistic monologues in it. I could have done more. Like, that speech. Oscar Schindler's speech to Itzhak Stern, I think is what his name was, Gandhi. What the fuck? Ben Kingsley. His speech, talking about how I could have saved more lives. Like, all that speech is way more happy than this. And that's in Schindler's List. Definitely an R-rated movie. Actually, probably at some point was NC-17, if I had to guess. Gremlins. Gremlins should not be a PG-rated movie. I mean, when you watch that whole movie from beginning to end, there is no reason for that scene to be in that movie. There is... this is a movie with... again, a callback to last week, one of the greatest actors of all time, Judge Reinhold. You got Hoyt Axton, who... there's a whole... You can go... Hoyt Axton is the guy who wrote fucking Never Been to Spain for Three Dog Night, The Pusher for Steppenwolf, Joy to the World for Three Dog Night. His mom's the woman who wrote Heartbreak Hotel for Elvis. That means absolutely fucking nothing. But regardless, Gremlins is not a movie where that speech should have been anywhere. Like, it doesn't... my God. Like, Sophie's Choice. Like... Sophie's Choice is more whimsical than that speech. The whole movie of Gremlins is like a normal kid's kind of Spielberg-esque Goonies, kind of Goonies. I'm trying to think of like some movies. There was, a fuck ton of movies like that came out around the 80s. But it has like kind of like a little bit of a Ghostbusters, Poltergeist, Goonies, lighthearted. All those movies are basically Spielberg movies. Which I believe Gremlins was it was written by Chris Columbus, but I'm pretty sure it was directed by Joe Dante, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I think Spielberg may have been a producer, something. Any movie Spielberg is a producer of or director, they all kind of have like a very similar, nature to. Schindler's List. Goonies, Schindler's List. Same thing. It is just so bizarre that would be put into a movie. So, Gremlins, not in my top 4. You're not making the Mount Rushmore. Sorry, holy shit. No, it is... Christmas... Home Alone is the standard. Oh, fuck. Home Alone 2, honestly, might be number 4. Like, I might put both Macaulay Alone movies in there. But damn, I do like Tim Allen. Tim Allen Santa Claus is a very good movie. Now, Tim Allen, bit of a drug mule, whose real name is Tim Dick, which is hilarious. I think I go still. Home Alone, first Home Alone is number one, without a doubt. So here, okay, let's fuck Mount Rushmore. Just do a top five. So top five. Number one, Home Alone, without a doubt. And also, send in your top fives. Why not? Number one, Home Alone. Number two, Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation is one of the funniest movies ever made. Like, without a doubt. Not just Christmas movies. Like, it is, without a doubt, one of the funniest movies ever made. Like, I love that movie so fucking much. So Christmas Vacation, number two. God, just fucking, what was her name? Ruby, the little girl. He's like, yeah, damnedest thing. I fell down a well, came out cross-eyed, kicked in the head by a mule. I straightened up. Amazing. That movie is so fucking funny to me. So Christmas Vacation, number two. Number three, I'm going Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Now, Home Alone 1 already, he would have been taken down by the wet bandits. There ain't a chance in hell that Macaulay Culkin survives the encounter with Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. He would have been shot in the head so fucking quick. But we'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You're in your terrain. You know what you're doing. King of the castle type situation. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. The wet bandits may as well not even been there. There is a 0% chance that little fucker is surviving being in New York City on his own. He is 100% getting kidnapped and fucking, boofed to death by not the wet bandits. I mean, just, any random New York bum. I mean, the scene where when he's in Central Park, the pigeon lady is the least of his worries. Like, if you go into Central Park past 9 p.m., I mean, so in The Shining, there's the part where Danny peeks into the door, or maybe it's Jack Torrance. I think it's Danny. Peeks into the door and sees the guy in the dog suit blowing the dude. That's basically what you're going to see every 5 feet if you go in like Central Park at night, from what I've heard. It is quite a suck sight, if you will. Now, Macaulay Culkin being just a sweet, adorable young child, 100% he is getting just fucking stretched apart. I mean, that's all. Like, there's no chance. He is coming out of Central Park. If he comes out of Central Park, he's coming out a real different person. Hey, he is not running into a pigeon lady who is, just sad because, whatever the fuck the pigeon lady story was, which I don't even really remember. I don't know if it's like a husband left her or something. There was some reason why she was alone and just like fucking around with pigeons covered in. She probably smelled like. Could you imagine the snatch on that woman? Oh, God. I mean, being covered in bird shit alone is, really a pretty rancid smell. But, I mean, that's the outside, Like, if your outside smells bad, your inside's got to be. Whatever it is, your inside's got to be at least 10 times worse than your outside. Now, if you smell very good on your outside, then yeah, your inside, a little bit worse, but that's still, you're coming off of a very good baseline. Her baseline is very vomit-inducing. So, I can't imagine. And there's also no chance that she doesn't kidnap Kevin and skin that fucker alive like goddamn Jeepers Creepers. And you just see a Macaulay Culkin suit with no eyes in some fucking Central Park cave or whatever the fuck she was living in. It just, there's no, the movie is, in an alternate universe, there's a real dark sequel to Home Alone. But anyways, it's still going to be number 3. Fuck it. Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and Bucket going Santa Claus. Now, speaking of Santa Claus, so these are all movies that I've watched recently. First, Home Alone and Christmas Vacation, multiple times. I'm actually going to put Santa Claus over Elf because, goddamn, about halfway through that movie, the whole Buddy the Elf, I don't know what any of this is shtick starts getting real old. And so, you're like, God damn, I'm kind of ready for this movie to end. Now, Santa Claus, on the other hand, very whimsical, very Christmas-esque. I mean, the goddamn movie is called Santa Claus. Can't be more Christmassy than that. I love everything about that movie. Except there is a weird, just a weird kind of, there's a scene with a girl who is supposed to be like 90 years old or something because she's an elf, but she's like a little kid. But they make her act like she's like really grown. Something unsettling about it. I'm not saying that there was any ill intention, but when you watch it, it's hard not to be like, what the fuck is this? It's a very odd scene in the movie, but still, overall, it has the whimsy, goddammit, and that's what matters. A Christmas movie has to have whimsy. No whimsy, no Christmas movie. You're not on the list. Die Hard, 100% on the list for like just badass action movies, cool action, cool characters. One of the greatest movie villains of all time. Anytime you make the Germans a villain, you got my vote, because, oh boy. Yeah. Like, and if you have a character named Argyle, what looks like to be about a 21-year-old African-American fellow whose name is Argyle, which is already great. I'm into Die Hard. I love Die Hard. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, without a doubt. But not a Christmas movie. Taking place during Christmas doesn't make it a fucking Christmas movie. It just doesn't. Polar Express, Christmas Carol, Muppets Christmas Carol, Elf, like all these movies, Christmas Story, It's a Wonderful Life, all these movies are centered around Christmas. They are Christmas movies. Sorry, Die Hard ain't one. Bad Santa is a Christmas movie. Not on my list, even though I think Bad Santa is very funny, but like, I like, PG Christmas movies. Call me a bitch. Except for Gremlins. Gremlins should have been R-rated for that fucking speech. Holy shit. All right. So that's that for that question. There was one more question actually Christmas related. I'll go ahead and answer. When did you stop believing in Santa? Very good question. Now, if anyone who still believes in Santa is watching this, oh boy. Spoiler alert. Also, should not be watching this. It is weird whenever you see people who are like, what is the cutoff age? Like, what is the right age to tell? I mean, obviously, I don't have any kids that I know of. But, like, what is the right age to tell a kid? Because that's got to be a fucking... Like, do you just let them find out, like, figure it out on their own? Or do you sit them down and tell them? Because that's got to be a hard thing to do as a parent. I'd much rather have that the fucking sex conversation with my kid, with my kid than have the Santa ain't real conversation. I mean, if I had to guess, I'd say 10. Once you hit the double digits, like, yeah, probably don't need to still be believing in this. But I think anything under that, like 9, I couldn't fucking tell a 9-year-old Santa ain't real. No way. I could tell a 10-year-old. Fuck, 10's still pretty young too. But fuck, once you get to like 11 or 12, see, an 11, 12 seems way too old. 12 for sure seems too old. Now, all this being said, I remember growing up and knowing a person, I will not name, but you know who you are, that believed in Santa much longer than the rest of us. I think I'm getting it right. I'm thinking like 13. still believed in Santa. And I know that sounds fucking bananas, but I'm pretty sure that it's true. Because I like distinctly remember this person being a year younger than me, so a grade younger than me, and it kind of becoming a thing that this person just found out Santa wasn't real. And I remember thinking in my head, so like, again, so when did you start believing in Santa? So I must have been like very young. Because when that happened, I remember being like, holy shit, I haven't believed in that son of a bitch in years. I would guess probably second grade. How fucking old are you in second grade? 8? 8 sounds right. I was probably about 8 when I stopped believing in Santa. And to be honest, I don't think it's like cool that I stopped believing at a young age. I wish I would have been that fucker that was 13 and still believing in Santa. I wish I still believed in it right now at fucking 30 goddamn years old. I wish I still believed in Santa. It would make my life so much better. And I wouldn't have to feel nearly as guilty about not really buying people shit for Christmas. And be like, well, fuck am I buying you shit? You don't buy me anything. Fucking Santa brings it. But now I have to get guilt tripped whenever I don't buy a whole lot of gifts for people. Fucking broke. Sorry. And cigarettes are getting very expensive, so, cut me a fucking break. Cut me some fucking slack, I think is what I meant to say. Give me a fucking break. Cut me some fucking slack. There we are. God, like verbal whiteout. Alright. So anyways, stop believing in Santa. Now, to kind of level things out a little bit, I'm not saying that like I was like just inherently smarter than anyone else, or that like, oh, I was way more cynical, although that is probably true. I was definitely much more of a cynical, neurotic dickhead. Way younger than you should be. But there were definitely things that I didn't catch on to until later in life. Not quite, believing like tooth fairies and Easter bunnies. Now, I do remember being told that the tooth fairy and Easter bunny weren't real way before Santa wasn't real. And for some reason, my dumbass mind never made the connection that, oh, if tooth fairy and Easter bunny aren't real, fucking Santa might not be real. Never crossed my mind. Like there was like a good like year or two where like I was like, fucking Easter bunny is a bunch of bullshit. Like, going around to all the other kids with a cigarette, like, fucking Easter bunny is just one of our parents. Bitch. But still wrote a goddamn letter to Santa. And then, I found out God wasn't real, and boy, Jesus and all those things. I was like, well, fuck, nothing's real. So, where was I talking? What was I talking? So something that I do remember whenever this question got brought up, where I was like, ooh. So the Santa thing, yeah, stopped probably maybe too young, a little bit young age. But one thing that does kind of balance me out is that I did, for a pretty long amount of time, maybe like into almost had a driver's license before I realized this was not true. I had been told by multiple people growing up. So not like I wouldn't say it was quite anecdotal. And it was like a wide range of people. It was like some like older relatives, some people my age, even some people younger. Who all were on the same board with this. Had been told, and I had been led to believe, that if you were taking a piss and you, while in midstream, sneezed and farted at the same time, that you would die. I don't know how the science works. I've come to find out. So I found out the hard way that is not true. And it was by doing a first-hand experiment. Not on purpose. I was taking a piss in, like, probably 9th grade, sneezing part at the same time, and for about a second and a half thought, oh no. Like, this is it. This is the end of me. And didn't die. And I was like, oh my God, this isn't fucking true. Like, I would have just been led to believe that if you had that many things leave your body at once, that your brain wouldn't know what to do. Your heart would stop. That is what I had been told. And God, I feel like such a fucking idiot saying this out loud, but it was the way it was. All right. So, anyways, that's enough talking about this bullshit. I've already embarrassed myself far too much. I think I had a couple of videos actually, so might go ahead and just do those. See, see what happens with that. So, take a little break and do some video. All right, so I think I got about a couple of videos lined up that these should be pretty good. So let me see what we got first here. I believe, yes. So right here, this is, let me pause this actually. So right here, this is a new In-N-Out that opened up, I believe in Tennessee. Shit. I think that's where it was. But regardless, this is a new In-N-Out burger that opened up. Now, these cars you're seeing, that is the line to to this In-N-Out. The line at one point was 8.5 hours long. Now, let me tell you something. I am a massive fan of In-N-Out Burger. It is, if there was one closer, I would be roughly 900 pounds. If there was one within reasonable driving distance, I'd be fucking dead by now. I love In-N-Out Burger so fucking much. That being said, there is nothing in this world that would get me to wait in a line for 8.5 hours for. I mean, you could have fucking animal style sauce on goddamn, Selma Hayek's nipples up there, and I'm still ain't waiting 8.5 hours to, take a taste. I'm saying, fuck it, I got nipples of my own. I'll squirt some animal sauce on them. There's just nothing. There is nothing in this world that would be worth that wait. And God, could you imagine if you waited in that line 8.5 hours? Let's just look at this thing again, because this is just so bizarre. Look at this line. Now, look at that. These cars, every one of those. God, I wish there was a full head count of how many cars are in this line. It's hundreds of cars in this line, and it just keeps going and going and going. Could you imagine if you're right about there, you were coming into that last corner, onto the last straightaway to get your fucking double animal style fries? Could you imagine? You've been waiting 8 hours, 25 minutes. That means if you wanted In-N-Out for lunch, say 1 o'clock, that means you were waiting in that line at, time for some math. 5 in the morning? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Yes, that means you were waiting in that line at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you wanted some In-N-Out for lunch. 5 in the morning. Means you probably got up at 4. You got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go get In-N-Out for lunch. You could have driven. Again, it depends on where this is. But actually, I'm pretty sure it was in Tennessee or something. You could have driven to Texas and had In-N-Out in that amount of time. Now, granted, you got to drive back, but still. I live about an hour and 45 minutes away from the nearest In-N-Out, which means I could have driven to In-N-Out for lunch, driven back home, then later that day driven to In-N-Out for dinner and driven back home in roughly the same amount of time that it would have taken to go through that drive-thru. Now, can you imagine you are on that last corner and you're looking at that motherfucker handing the bags out to people. Could you imagine if they came up to you and said, "Sorry, we're all out"? I mean, like they're like, "Sorry, we thought we were going to be able to make yours, but we're completely out." The Ted Kaczynski level scheming that I would be doing to destroy that place. It is full on. I'm building pipe bombs. I'm ordering one of fucking Elon's flamethrowers. Probably have a couple of fucking Glocks, taped to my legs, and I'm going in there and wrecking shop. I'm throwing Molotov cocktails through the drive-thru. I am killing every single person in there and burning that son of a bitch to the ground. Smoking a cigarette. Like, I will light the cigarette off of the flames, off of one of the workers' fucking paper hats. Smoke the cigarette, flick it out, and then just put one in, like, right under my chin and end it. And, yeah. The amount of anger. Which I'm not even naturally that angry of a person, believe it or not. With the amount of anger that I would have, it's just utterly incomprehensible. But yeah. So fuck all that. That's just so goddamn crazy. Or there's no way people do that in other countries. There is no way. There is no way that they opened even a fucking like McDonald's in Paris and had an 8-hour line through the drive-thru. Like, if they could open a Chick-fil-A in the middle of fucking Baghdad. And there's gonna be maybe 3 people in line. Like, there is, of course, like a place where people are just like real life starving. Ethiopia, they could open a McDonald's in the middle of a fucking sand dune in Ethiopia. Still not gonna have an 8.5-hour line. Like, it's only us fat fucks that see the opening of what's honestly an above average fast food chain. That would see that as like an all-day event. Like, there are people that probably took off work, which is, another one of our fucking problems in this goddamn country. But, there's just no way. There's no way there is another country on this planet that would do this. No way. Not for In-N-Out, not for anything. They could be handing out bags of money. They could be handing out... Actually, that's a good question. What is the least amount of money they could give you at the end of that drive-thru for it to be worth the 8.5 hours of waiting in line? Huh. Because it's not just a normal 8 hours. Like, you have to think of, like, what is your time worth? But not just that. It's just how annoying it would be to be in that line for 8 hours. Just the stop, go, but over such a slow amount of time. And seeing all these fat fucks next to you who are just, like, sweating, waiting to get that fucking burger. It would have to be $5,000. Without a doubt. It would have to be $5,000. And my meal comped, of course. But it would have to be a comped meal and $5,000 cash. And I would probably wait in that line. Anything else than that, no, go fuck yourself. I'll just go to goddamn Dairy Queen. DQ, that's what I like about Texas. Alright, so anyways, there's that one. Boy, what a shit show. Time for another one. Here we go. I hope this is the one. Yes, okay. So, this is a fella. I guess a fella. I'm pretty sure it's a fella. Maybe, probably not a lass. Pretty sure this is a fella skiing somewhere where it snows. So, there's your background. This person is skiing on some sweet powder. Nice and fluffy. Because said powder is so dense and fluffy, this man does not realize that at one point there is nothing under this snow. And you will see exactly what I mean right now. So, boom, goes under the snow, and uh-oh. And is stuck going down the most terrifying, look at this, into nothing. And now, as far as I know from, what I could see in the video, doesn't look like there was a group of people with him. Kind of looks like this son of a bitch. Now, granted, this person is wearing a helmet with the Monster logo on it, so I imagine this person has probably a year's supply of cocaine just shooting through the fucker's bloodstream. So he'll probably just end up melting his way out of this, or just probably start fucking actually. He'll probably go through the bottom of it and come out on the other side. Wherever the fuck that, in goddamn Taipei. This may be a little bit of a surprise, maybe not. I'm white. And it should be almost like second nature for me to like be a skier, or do any sort of like snow games. It ain't. And it never will be. I've never been skiing, snowboarding, snow sledding. The closest I've ever come is I have somewhat slid and busted my ass on a frozen walkway once. That's about the closest I've ever come to skiing. I would never do this. Ever. There's no way. Definitely not alone. Which I'm not saying that, this person definitely looked alone and seemed kind of calm about, dying. Apparently, I guess they didn't die because we are seeing the video. Unless somebody just found their fucking body a week later and was like, oh, so that's what happened to John. Holy God. Just how fucking terrifying that would be. Anyways, let's lighten it up. And I know just the thing to do it. So, this is a video from Cameo, which, Cameo is simultaneously the greatest invention and most, sad invention ever. Because when you see, the level of celebrity, it's interesting. Because you'll see people who are like, oh, damn, who the fuck would pay to hear this person talk to you? And they're charging, $200 to say, happy fucking wedding anniversary, sorry you cheated on your wife, whatever. But flip side of that is you'll see somebody who is an absolute legend fucking doing Cameo for $50. You're like, who tricked you into doing this? Somebody in your team has lied to you and said that you were doing this as a charity, and they're pocketing your Cameo money. There is no way that you were doing this and being like, I think I'll just charge about $50. Case in point, the singer Smokey Robinson is on Cameo. Now, Smokey Robinson, obviously just a legend, a music legend. Pretty much the last person in his generation to still be alive. I think Diana Ross is still alive, maybe. So Diana Ross is there with him. But it's really Smokey Robinson is it. Everybody else is gone. And he, for what it is, for what it's worth, Smokey Robinson still looks, pretty spry to be whatever, fucking 98 or however the fuck old he is. Not exactly. Well, let's just watch it. No. Smokey. Oh boy. So, in case you're wondering, Smokey Robinson has been paid, who knows, $75 to wish a person happy Hanukkah. And now, granted, the double spelling of Hanukkah is a bunch of bullshit. You either spell it with an H or you spell it with a CH. Not both. Like, you get one fucking spelling. That's how it works. Now, granted, Christmas, people do the little Xmas thing. But that's a little bit different because X is just the Greek, symbol for Christ, or Greek letter for Christ. So it's like the Greek Orthodox version of it. But, whatever. Smokey Robinson clearly doesn't know where the fuck he is right now. He doesn't know what this is. He doesn't know what he's doing. Somebody right now is taking full advantage of Smokey Robinson being old as dirt and is having him wish somebody a happy Chanukah. Chanukah. Boy, with all the problems going on with the, Israelites of the world, the last thing they need is Smokey Robinson saying, you think shit's bad in Gaza. Smokey Robinson is really just putting insult to injury. Holy shit. But, if anyone watching this knows Smokey Robinson, maybe reach out to him. See if he's all right. Check him. Ask him if he smells burnt toast. Do do a pulse test and figure out who's running his Cameo page. Because whoever it is 100% swindling him. That guy is like God. I know legend is a word that gets just tossed around, of course. But, that is a legend. Smokey Robinson. Happy Chanukah. All right, so I think that'll do it for the old videos for today. Time to move on to a little bit of where that come from. Of course, take a little word of phrase that we know today. Figure out where the hell it came from. I think I explained that pretty well. All right, take a little break, and we'll do that. All right, so time for a little bit of the old where that come from. This is going to be a pretty interesting one. So, going back about 2,000 years to ancient Rome. So, in ancient Rome, obviously, this is a little bit before electricity. Not a lot of refrigeration going on. Don't think Samsung has started making refrigerators yet. So, no electricity, no refrigeration. How do you preserve food? Well, for thousands and thousands of years, the best way to preserve food, salt. That's actually still a way that a lot of people preserve food. Salt is pretty much a surefire way to preserve your meat, make things last longer, less risk of starvation because you can make food last for a longer period of time. Salt's important. Salt, the more salt you have, better off you are. Now, also, back in ancient Rome, they do have a currency, but bartering is still pretty common, even though there is, a currency in ancient Rome, like a universal currency. Well, because salt was so valuable, sometimes salt would be used as a currency. So it was very common for Roman soldiers to sometimes be paid their entire wages in salt, because basically salt was more valuable than the money they would have been paid. So, yeah, they say, fuck that, give me the salt. It was also known as white gold, which, basically, it was the crack before crack. It was pre-crack. So, salt, very, very much in demand. So, these Roman soldiers would just say, yeah, fuck it, give me my money in salt. Well, that was known as the salarium, paying someone in salt. That word. So, Jesus Christ. Fucking nose is itching like a son of a bitch. So, to pay someone in salt was called a salarium. Now, over time, the word salarium, which obviously solarium comes from the root sal, S-A-L, which salt, saline, salt related, S-A-L, solarium. Then it eventually got turned into the French word salaire. Then from the French word salaire to the English word salary. So that is why our payment for work done is called a salary. Yeah, fascinating shit. All right, so there's that one. Now time to move on to a couple of old half-ass histories, and we will fucking be done. All right, so the first story that we're doing is on an actor who, I mean, a very, very well-known actor, held in high esteem, classic, famous for his portrayal as the psychopath Norman Bates, fella Anthony Perkins. So Anthony Perkins, legendary actor. His father was an actor. Anthony Perkins, obviously most famous for playing Norman Bates in Psycho, but was in a ton of movies. And, built this pretty massive career as a leading man. Side note, when Anthony Perkins was in college, one of his friends in college was a fellow by the name of Fred Rogers, who would go on later to be known as Mr. Rogers. So, yeah, interesting little sidebar on Anthony Perkins. But yeah, so Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates, he's in Psycho, the Psycho sequels, which the second one, definitely better than the first one, but, that's neither here nor there. Anthony Perkins is, has become a very well-respected actor. Anthony Perkins is also bisexual and has a pretty, long-standing relationship with another actor by the name of Tab Hunter. Now, obviously, this is way back. Not exactly a time where being an openly gay actor would do you any favors. So this is obviously a time where, being gay or bisexual, anything other than straight, not good. So it was kept hidden. Obviously, people in his circle knew, but the masses had no idea that Anthony Perkins was, plowing Tab Hunter. But it was true. So, fast forward to the 1980s. Now, in 1986, Anthony Perkins is suffering from facial palsy. Goes to the doctor to get tested for it. Nurse, does all the tests, draws his blood, all that stuff to see what's going on with his facial palsy. Well, leaves the doctor's office, goes about his business. About a week later, is in the supermarket. He is waiting in line to check out, looks over, sees a National Enquirer. The headline on this National Enquirer is Anthony Perkins positive for HIV. And he's like, what the fuck what is going on? So he calls his doctor and is like, hey, do I have goddamn HIV? Turns out the nurse who drew the blood for the blood test, when she did the blood test, it showed that he was positive for HIV. Instead of telling the doctor and Anthony Perkins about it, she calls the National Enquirer and sells that story to the National Enquirer. So that is how Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates, found out that he was positive for HIV, which eventually would take his life. Now, fast forward 9 years later, this story gets even more sad. So, fast forward 9 years later, Anthony Perkins' widow, Barry Berenson, was flying home from Boston. This is one day before the anniversary of her late husband's death. Barry Berenson, Anthony Perkins' widow, flying home from Boston. When she is on the plane flying home from Boston, her plane is hijacked and crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Centers on September 11th, 2001. Yeah. Oh my God. Talk about bad luck. Jesus Christ. So there's the story of Anthony Perkins. Just, boy, not Not a happy life. Oh, man. But an amazing actor. The character Norman Bates is one of the most legendary performances of all time. So, yeah, there is that. All right. All right. So this next one, this is a bit of a doozy. So I'm going to try to get through this one. A lot of names and, just bear with me. It's interesting. So this is going to be the story of Billy the Kid. Now, I think everybody is familiar with who Billy the Kid was. Billy the Kid, very famous outlaw. So Billy the Kid, has this criminal outlaw career. Ends up being shot and killed in 1881 by the sheriff Pat Garrett. That's the story, is that in 1881, Sheriff Pat Garrett cornered Billy the Kid, middle of the night, killed him in New Mexico. That's that. So that is the accepted truth of what happened to Billy the Kid. Well, in 1948, there was an investigator by the name of William Morrison. William Morrison meets an old man named Joe Hines. The thing about Joe Hines is that he claims that he knew Billy the Kid. But, get this, that Billy the Kid was not killed by Pat Garrett that night. The Billy the Kid is actually still alive. Now, granted, this is in 1948. He says Billy the Kid actually did not die that night. Billy the Kid is still alive right now. He leads William Morrison to a man by the name of J. Frank Dalton, who, at the time, is lying about being the outlaw Jesse James. So, not exactly the most reputable character, but still. Now, Mr. J. Frank Dalton said, "Oh, I know where he is. I know where Billy the Kid is right now." And he leads him to a man by the name of O.L. Roberts. O.L. Roberts goes by the nickname Brushy Bill. And he is the guy who claims to be the actual Billy the Kid. So William Morrison begins speaking with Brushy Bill, trying to figure out, trying to get some inside information, figure out, is this a bunch of bullshit or is this person actually Billy the Kid? So what Mr. Roberts claims is that night, Pat Garrett actually killed a fellow by the name of Billy Barlow, not him, Billy the Kid, and that he was able to escape, flee, and he has been, safe and sound ever since. Well, there were two other witnesses to the death of Billy the Kid. One of those witnesses said from the beginning that person Pat Garrett shot was not Billy the Kid. The other person said that it was Billy the Kid, but that person had never actually seen Billy the Kid in person before, so really didn't even know for sure what he looked like. Again, also middle of the night. So the only person who witnessed it, who actually knew what Billy the Kid looked like, said, that ain't him. Also kind of a known thing that Pat Garrett was just kind of wanting to be famous, so it would be reasonable to believe that Pat Garrett would shoot somebody else and say, yep, that was Billy the Kid. So then after that night where the supposed Billy the Kid was killed by Pat Garrett, they just the next day buried the body pretty quick. No real investigation into who exactly it was that was in the in the pine box, and to this day nobody knows where his remains are. It is also a bit of a mystery as to where the remains of the supposed Billy the Kid are. So this creates a ton of confusion. And, there's even rumors that it's not even, O.L. Roberts. That there's multiple people who have said, oh yeah, my, grandfather was Billy the Kid, whatever. Now, the thing about Brushy Bill, Mr. Roberts, is that he actually was able to get people to sign documentation stating that he was Billy the Kid. People saying, I knew Billy the Kid, I knew O.L. Roberts, they are the same person. One of the people who signed that document was Robert E. Lee, which, okay. Another person who swore that O.L. Roberts was telling the truth and that he was in fact Billy the Kid was President Harry Truman. So yeah, kind of getting some, heavy, some people with some weight saying that, that he is Billy the Kid. Now, the one thing going against him, or one of the things going against O.L. Roberts, is that O.L. Roberts is basically illiterate and speaks horrible Spanish, when it is known that Billy the Kid was very literate and spoke pretty damn good Spanish. So that, bit of a drawback. Now, to wrap it all up, a little bit later on, the FBI and the CIA, so a little bit later on, a facial recognition technology was used on O.L. Roberts. This is the same facial recognition technology used by the FBI and the CIA, used on O.L. Roberts and on Billy the Kid to see whether or not they were a match. Now, the results showed that they were, in fact, a 93% match. So, Young Guns 2 might actually be nonfiction, which, boy, that's something. So, yeah, Billy the Kid may not have died that night. Billy the Kid might have lived to the, damn near until the 1950s, which is wild to think. But, yep, so there's the story of Billy the Kid and the, possible Billy the Kid. All right. So, last story of the day. Man, this is one that really, there's some sadness to it, but overall, God, it makes you feel good. Little retribution. So, yeah. So, this is a story of a fellow by the name of Ronald McNair. So, when Ronald McNair was 8 years old, maybe give a little bit more background. Ronald McNair, when he was 8 years old, went to a library in South Carolina. Now, Ronald McNair, African American. This is at a time where segregation, real big, especially in South Carolina. So when he goes to the library, he is not allowed to check out the books at the library. Well, Ronald McNair just wants his damn books. So he refuses to leave the library. This is a segregated library. Ronald McNair is refusing to leave. He's like, I just want to check out my books. I'm not doing anything wrong. Just let me check out my books. Well, the librarian ends up calling the police on an 8-year-old Ronald McNair. When the police show up, the policeman is like, just let him check out the books. As surprising as this sounds, the policeman who comes actually takes Ronald McNair's side and makes the librarian check out his books. So Ronald McNair, 8 years old, is able to, get his books. He leaves, and, kind of the end of that. Ronald McNair, very intelligent child, becomes a very intelligent teenager, very intelligent adult, ends up going to MIT and getting his PhD in 1976 from MIT. Very prestigious school. So, yeah, Ronald McNair, very ambitious person. Well, Ronald McNair uses his, intellect and work ethic to become an astronaut. And he ends up becoming the second African American to fly into space. Well, a little bit later, on January 28th, 1986, Ronald McNair is one of 6 people able to fly on the Challenger shuttle. And on January 28th, 1986, the Challenger shuttle takes off, has a major malfunction, and Ronald McNair, as well as the other 5 people on the Challenger, die. Now, that is not the end of Ronald McNair's story. 25 years later, in 2011, that library that at one point refused to check out books to an 8-year-old Ronald McNair was renamed. Guess who it was named? And guess who it was renamed after? Yeah, Ronald McNair. Awesome story. God damn, I love stuff like that. All right, so that'll do it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. Until next week,